get you some votes.
Sounds good.
All right, here we go. All right, you want to give me a quick hug? Mine, come on, hurry up. I haven't hit the music yet. All right, buddy. Okay. Good night. Shut the door quietly, please.
Yeah, I just told them to do the same. My 3.
I feel you. All right. Let's
Was.
see. Where is our little friend, the music? All right, everybody. Good evening. My name is Revolution MacInnes, and I am hearing myself in there. I don't know if you could hear that or not, Mr. Green. Just if you turn the volume down a little bit, I think it's good. I'm not hearing it. We're fine. I was a little loud, maybe. But this is so far this week in the chai, shy, or chi. I don't think anybody can agree on the pronunciation, so we're going to be very equanimable and call it all 3. But basically, what this show is a show about Chicago and politics and big city politics, and we're going to throw in once in a while some fun things and. We're always going to be talking to political folks, and we definitely lean to the left here. However, I'm willing to talk to anybody, and I'm going to get to do that tonight. And I am super honored to have my first mayoral candidate, maybe not even his last time. Who knows? He could be the second again, or we could get somebody else. But on the show tonight, and it is, can I call you, is Jamal?
J-Mall.
J-Mall. That's why I wanted to ask. That's
Yes.
why I wanted to ask. Because I seen it. You know what? I should have known that. I'd seen it spelled J-A-Y on your Twitter. So J-Mall Green, a mayoral candidate for the city of Chicago. This is your second attempt at it. So you're a veteran. And this is quite an honor, sir. How's it going with the campaign right now? I know there's no hardball questions here, but I know that you're being challenged, and I'm saying this not J-Mall, but the city has this antiquated system where you can challenge people, and it's really, in my opinion, because the Democratic Party wants to keep the incumbent in power, whoever that might be,
Right.
And so that's why they have this challenge. But J-Mall, nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you as well. You brought up the challenge. We're challenging the same candidate that's challenging us, but just like you said, the election laws need to be updated. It's so antiquated how it's done through paper. We got the highest signature count in the country at 12,500. It makes no sense. We collected over 2 times the challenge. They struck out, like they did a shotgun challenge and challenged like over 19,000 signatures, and so
Wow.
they're saying we want you to prove another 5,500 signatures out of the 19,000. Well, the odds obviously are in our favor, and it may just get thrown out without us having to go to a records challenge. Because it makes no sense, to try to prove 5,500 out of over 19,000 that we have to go through. So, we got way more than enough. We're not worried about it. We're not focused on it. It's not our priority. We're focused on February 28th. We're first spot on the ballot. And
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And we're just excited about Chicago's future.
That is something that I am excited about as well. Was not born here. I have a son that was born here, though, and I told him, now I guaranteed at least, if you become mayor, they can't get, but you're not from Chicago thing. So, and it was a bit of a story to get him born in Chicago. Though we were living in Chicago, it was an unavailable vehicle kind of story. I almost was born in Evanston, and I just wasn't going to let that happen.
Right.
But let me say hi to Stephanie, Jen, Lily, Nicole, Rogelio, and welcome. And J-Mall, if you can turn the volume down on your phone a little, I still want you to be able to hear me, but if I get a little excited, I hear myself coming back through the phone.
All right.
We should be okay. I'll just if we pause just a second or two between each of us, like we're a remote satellite. But so you're an activist. I've been an activist and a professional activist in that sense, meaning that I got paid for it. You don't ever get paid much since I was about 19, but I think I did my first bit of activism when I was 8. Tell us a little bit about J. Mal Green, the activist.
Well, let me just say, and I think the same would be for you, is that that word was really put on you after just being someone that's concerned, someone who wanted better for the community, who stepped up and did something that majority of people are not doing, fighting for certain issues. And essentially, I didn't know what an activist was when I started as a teenager, right? But I knew that a 16-year-old boy was, I mean, a 17-year-old boy was shot 16 times. I knew that I was losing my loved ones to gun violence, right? I had to go to school and have a silent day at 15 years old because I lost the kid that sat next to me. And so, I became some a very more community organizer and someone that was just concerned with all of the issues. I led my first peace march when I was 15 years old with hundreds of people, students and elected officials, bringing everyone together to talk about how we're going to reduce violence and call for peace in the community. From then on, I was a Put the Guns Down ambassador when I was 18. Laquan McDonald movement, I helped lead that. Where we fought each and every day to bring forth justice to Laquan and to reform a lot of the policies that that needed reforming. Where the Laquan McDonald movement can be looked at as the successful folks who got body cameras, tasers, a consent decree that they don't abide by. There's a lot of different. Most of the politicians in place right now are in place because of the Laquan McDonald movement, and so we fought hard during that time. And Chase Bank just most recently in 2020, when we found that they were redlining communities on the south and west sides. I stepped up and called a team together and said, we are all going to fight Chase Bank. And they looked at me crazy and said, this is the largest institution in the world. How are you going to get their attention? Well, I've always gotten people attention, and we're going to be very radical in doing so. And so, I started to go into branches and let folks know with our team, finish your transactions. This bank is closed. At one point, someone called the police and said we were robbing the bank before, and they banned me from every Chase Bank in America. We shut down
Oh,
over
wow.
35 we shut down over 35 branches. I think when I'm mayor, in a few months, I think that's going to change. And we, got them to come to the table and bring forth $1 billion back to the South and West Sides over the next 5 years. So I've always been on the front lines, whether it was for small businesses that were looted. We raised $250,000 and put out that money within a week. More money than the city did. They had 10 million and only gave out 230,000. Whether it was, in food deserts, passing out thousands of produce bags and on the south and west sides to those folks who was without fresh produce near them. Most recently during this race, Whole Foods closed in Inglewood. And
After what,
so
6 years, I think, right?
yeah, after 6 years. So we partner with Love Fridge, a Getting Grown Collective in Inglewood, in which on 6030 Morgan, they had a free fridge of fresh produce, right, as a bridge for the community. And they needed a way to power it. So I just so happened to be a co-owner of a solar panel company. And we built a 100% solar system to power the fridge that's free with fresh produce. And so no matter the issue, in the community with violence, putting thousands of dollars of award money up, fighting for new homeowners, fighting for small business owners, fighting for young people each and every day. I've been doing the work, over 12 years now, making sure that their community voice was heard and was always heard and been morally consistent, not only locally, but on a national level as a spokesman for Bernie Sanders, both times he ran, fighting for issues that weren't popular back in 2015, 2016, whether it was $15 minimum wage, legalizing cannabis, student loan debt, Medicare for all of these. Back then when he ran the first time, they were all looking at us like we were crazy. And so I was there and I was fighting, and even if it wasn't popular.
The thank you, Lily down there. The would you consider yourself a progressive? Do you kind of, look, I'm so far to the left, I have to call myself a humanitarian because people would call me a
There you
leftist.
go.
But let me describe
Yeah.
what that means to me. And of course, we mentioned Dominica McBride and Become and how I've been there, since before the beginning of that organization here in Chicago. But to me, everybody deserves, everybody on the planet, just by birthright, a home, heat,
Yep.
cooling, food, all the
Transportation.
basics, right?
Yep.
Doesn't have to be a big home, doesn't
Yep.
have to be a mansion, but everybody should have that. And if that makes me a
Right.
leftist, well, so help me. That's what I'm going to
100%.
be.
No, I agree with you totally. I was talking to my campaign team today, and it was like, we're going to say you're the humanist candidate. But everything that you're saying is correct, right? Housing should be a right. These are the what I'm running on, in our campaign. Housing should be a right. Free, like fresh produce should be a right. Clean water, right? Chicago has a lead problem right now,
And how
and
many how many pipes have been done less than
almost
400? And let me say
yes.
this too real quick. There's
Hmm.
hundreds of thousands I think that need to be done. Now
Almost
my
four hundred
neighbor,
thousand.
yeah, and my neighbor, and I live in Andersonville. I'm
Yeah.
not actually affluent by my neighbor's standards,
Hmm.
but we have a friend who got a house just across over in Andre's district over there in the 40th,
Yeah.
and they had a lead line, and they want it replaced before they move in. The
Right.
permit is 7 grand, and the
Wow.
city's not helping them, even though it's a lead line and it needs to be replaced. They're not
Right.
replacing it yet. So that doesn't even count putting the line in,
It's
right? It's
insane.
7 grand for the permit. And I joked to him and I said, well, I hope at least the guy's putting it in is getting doing the permit itself,
Right.
writing the signing his name on it is getting 6 grand because that's ridiculous.
It's
And
ridiculous.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
it's ridiculous. But I mean, this administration, out of 380,000 pipes, they've changed 280 in the last 4 years. And so, at the end of the day, this is a problem, right? And I went to, whether it was Flint. I loaded up a truck of cases of water because I heard that in Flint that they weren't going to the public housing, buildings, and so we went door to door and all of the public housing buildings giving cases of water, and so I saw what happened in Flint. And the thing is that people always say, "Oh, well, we can't be Flint, or we won't be Flint," but we're in the same early stages
we
of
really
what,
are.
and it's serious. Like, no amount of lead is okay. It's poison, and you don't know
Right.
the effects that it has on our young people and our kids. And so, it's a big problem. I would move forward. I've already moved forward a plan on what we would do to tackle lead pipes. But back to just rights, transportation should be a right, right? I talked about piloting a free transit program in the city, same as Boston, Mayor Wu is doing right now currently, right? Like, transportation at some point, it should be free, and it should be
What
a
do we
right.
pay taxes for, right?
Right.
If we then have to pay
Mhm.
on top of it,
Yep.
a fee. And I wanted to just quickly go back to the water because this is, again, me
Yep.
talking, not you. But can you imagine had the mayor, anyway, I'll be nice, had the mayor maybe put a program together. Can you imagine how many people we could employ on the south and west sides in a program that strived to replace, I don't know, 50,000 a year or 100,000 a
Exactly.
year? You could employ hundreds of people. It would be great for the economy that,
Yep.
there's money allocated for the darn thing and it doesn't get done. And I would love to have her on here and tell me why it hasn't been done because it doesn't
It's not a
make any
priority.
sense.
It's not a priority for her. Same as a lot of other things. She made a lot of promises that she didn't keep. We all had high hopes for her.
We
And,
did.
at the end of the day, we're here. At the end of the day, we must now make sure we don't have another 4 years of this, and make sure we have somebody who's really in touch with the people, who really understands the basic needs of everyone. And so that's what's most important. That's what we're running our campaign on, is those rights that you're talking about, eradicating poverty, and not using, preying on city residents. That's why when I stepped up and I said we would ban the booting and seizures of vehicles for unpaid tickets. We got to stop adding the poor tax on people. Where Cook County has,
Seizures of vehicles,
I mean,
right?
it
The
makes no sense. Cook
bankruptcies.
County has the most bankruptcies in Chapter 13 bankruptcies in the country, and the majority of the bankruptcies are for tickets to owe to the city of Chicago. And so we need to stop ruining citizens' lives here in the city. It makes people not want to live here, makes people not want to raise a family here, makes people at any moment they can leave, they will leave. We need people who want to get a good job here, who want to invest back into the neighborhoods, who want to own a home here, who wants their kids to grow up here. And unfortunately, that's just not the case. But that's going to change under our administration, 100%.
Well, I like that as a Chicagoan to hear that, and as a citizen as well, because the the people, that's who our representatives are supposed to serve. And
There you
I've
go.
been around politics and activism my whole life, really, and I've lobbied people in government and pretty high people in government,
Yeah,
and they all seem to have to make some compromises to get
yeah.
things done. But you don't have to compromise your values.
There you go.
That is something you got to hold. And I will say that I do not know Mayor Lightfoot at all. But we met at in Andersonville. That must have been like this, just that summer that she was running,
Yeah,
and I did have high hopes for her. And for me, and you don't have to answer these questions when I'm saying them, you're a candidate, you'll answer them however you want to answer them. But this isn't so much of a question as it's just this idea that you can't win the hearts and minds of the people and change the city as a prosecutor. At some point, you have to soften up. And I know federal
there you go.
prosecutors that were amazing at their job. And then
Yeah,
when they retire, because they get to retire, pretty young, then they go on to serve the criminal defendants. Well, because they're really good at it, but they're
right.
able to make the shift. And I never saw her make the shift. And so when I
100%.
see you sitting across from me, with an attitude of getting the job done in having the track record you have and these old knees that have need replaced. I remember marching out there with a lot of my friends with Laquan McDonald there, and I'm sure we crossed each other's path, walked past each other or so. But
Yeah,
you know, like Barack Obama, that being rooted in the people and making a difference. Again, whether you agree with somebody politically or not, even
right.
if you come
Right.
from the people, to me, that's an advantage.
It is. It is a huge advantage. Here's the thing. I am, very left in a lot of ways, but I'm very common sense as well, right? And so, I have debates with people all the time. Strong conservatives, people all the way at the right, people all the way at the left, people in the middle. And some things we can agree on. Most things we may not. But we have to get to a point in politics where it's not, it's so much of who's right. It's about what's the solution to get things done, and do the right thing, right? And so that's kind of where I am. Is that I've been fighting politicians half my life, right? Rahm Emanuel, fighting him for years, protesting his house before it was even popular to protest any politician's house. We were one of the first to do it in the country, to go to his house and watch him in his home on the phone and scream and chant because of what was going on. Lori Lightfoot, we have stepped up and fought so many politicians. We organized the Trump rally shut down, the only time that a Trump rally was shut down in the country. And
Right, I remember.
and so it's just like I'm at the point where it's like we must start to build power from within, from people who really care about people, from people in the communities that are doing the work. Because what happens is the people who are doing the work, like me, look at politics and be like, "This is so corrupt. We just want to fight you." But at some point, we got to step back and say, all right, who can take some of these seats? Because we know that we can't be corrupted, right? Like, not only do I got the jawbone, as Senator Nina Turner would say, but I got the backbone, right, to step up against the powers that be and make sure I stay true to my values and principles. And that's what it's about. And if there's anything different, be transparent, right? Be okay with saying, this is what we've done. We found that it's not going to work or it's not working, and let's switch it up. Like, we have to have leadership that understands that they're not always going to be right. Everything that they're saying is not always going to be right. But you have a cabinet of people that you can disagree with, but you guys can come to a decision on what's next, right? And listen to the people and understand the communities and meet with communities. Communities should be putting together the quality of life plan for their neighborhoods, right?
Amen.
It's really important for us to hear communities in the city of Chicago, throughout the city, because every community is different, to hear what that looks like for them, and how can we get there. And so, that's what I'm looking forward to, right? It's not another dictatorship, right? We're in a dictatorship right now. I'm a person that loves to figure out how we can move forward, right? My ideas these are my ideas that I've came up with my policy people and these people and what I've heard from the community, but it might not be the end all be all policy. Like, how can we get new homeowners, new small businesses, a pipeline of middle class jobs in these neighborhoods, young people to be invested in, and into these other career fields instead of on the streets carjacking? How can we make sure that we're attacking the root causes of violence? How do we make sure that we have economic development in these neighborhoods, that we have fresh produce in these neighborhoods? How can we get there? That's where I am, in this race. And it's not about my ego. It's not about money. It's about how can we make the impact on this generation and next generation.
Well, I think that is what I would want to hear from any politician. Again, for this show's purposes, at least, staying neutral is, something that I want to do because I want everybody to be able to share their message because
For
people need
sure.
to decide about someone other than just a soundbite. And
Yeah.
I don't want to give anybody a soundbite to use of you saying it, but this is what I'm going to say is because you've said it. Um, the mistakes and we have to learn, not every policy we think of is going to work because you get in there and you see, wow, I didn't realize just how screwed up this is once I see the numbers in front of me or whatever.
Right.
But what you're saying is the most important thing, and again, this about with Dr. McBride and Become and the work that we've done for more than a decade is it is the community that has the answers to their
Yes,
problems.
it
And
does.
when you don't even I would like to know how many times the mayor has been to the 77, I think that's it, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
communities in Chicago. How many of those have
Good
been
question.
just her home community or on the north side, where
Yes.
there's a lot of money? How many times has she been to Chatham, not
Right.
South Shore, not Inglewood that we hear about, not Hyde Park? How many times has she been to Chatham? I'm sure she's
Right.
been down there, but right, if I were mayor, which middle-aged white guy, I mean, he does not need to be mayor of Chicago, but if I were mayor, I would have town halls every couple of weeks in
Yeah.
every community that I possibly could. And I would want, and if I couldn't hold them, I'd send my emissaries out there
There you
because we
go.
need to hear what the people need.
What the people
Because
need. Yeah.
yes, that is it. That's called, like you said, being a humanitarian.
Yeah.
You don't you don't come down from on high with a
Right.
fancy education. Nothing wrong with having it, but with your education and saying, now you people should
Right.
do this. If you want to give the people some money, you're a big, organization. What you want to do is you want to give them money and then let them do with it what they feel they need to do,
There
and
you go.
it's incumbent upon you to make sure that it's an available, that they can have the solutions, that they
Yeah.
have the things that they need to come up with those solutions. But
Yeah.
then when they say, look, Mr. Mayor, we need this, that's what they're gonna need to do. Rogelio down there, I see that you wanted to come up and
Can I
take the
real quick
mic.
say
Yeah.
this real quick? To what you were saying. One of the things that I haven't said this publicly anywhere else, so you have the quickest solution. One of the things that I would do as mayor as well is, you know, on our I don't know if you would call the mayor having a motorcade, right? But it's more presidential to say that. But as the mayor is moving around throughout the city, especially in these neighborhoods, like there should be a representative from key departments throughout City Hall that is able to travel alongside the mayor throughout the city. It's important to be able to say, hey, like, look at this street. And somebody is there, and making it a priority, or, we can do this, or this community needs this, and we have somebody from that department, instead of so many people in City Hall. Me, I'm a community guy, right? I've always been a
Right.
community guy. Even, even throughout the years in all of my companies, you won't see me in office, right? I stop in, I'm not an office guy, right? I'm in the field. That is just the type of guy I am because I like having the pulse on what's going on, right? Whether it is, folks overdosing in my community, and I got to call a firefighter to come hit them with some Narcan, or paramedic hit them with some Narcan, or whether it is kids that need some help, or a mentoring organization, or a small business, or whatever the case is. I'm in touch with the grassroots level because that's just kind of my thing. And we need that type of leadership throughout the city, not just in the mayor's office, but in city council, because it's important to have that. We have too many people who are too stuck up and just making their money and getting their gain, but they're not in tune with the people.
Jamal, the question I wonder is a couple things. How many of those department heads get out into the communities as well?
Hmm.
And maybe this happens. I'm not saying it doesn't, but when was the last time a contingent of North Side alders or alder persons or whatever we want to call them now has made a trip to the South Side
Yeah.
and said, hey,
Question.
what do you need? I got a
Yeah.
shit ton of money and a bunch of rich people up here
Yeah.
who love me. So if I go back and say, the community of Gresham or something has said, well, we could use this. I bet we
Yeah.
might be able to get something done.
Yeah.
Because as a middle-aged white guy who's been involved in activism his whole life, you know, hey, look, allies are great, but that's just step one.
Yeah.
You need to become a co-conspirator. You need
Yeah.
to, work the thing the right way. We talked a little bit about the march, with Laquan McDonald, and there were 5 distinct groups out there during
Yeah.
those marches, and I knew somebody in all of them,
Yeah.
and I would sometimes be asked, "Hey, come stand up front," and I'm like,
Right.
"No, I don't need to be up front. I need to be back here in the back and figuring
Yeah.
out how I can help by asking, what can I do to help?" And
Right.
I don't want to stand up in front because the 3 other groups here won't want me up in front, and so
Mhm.
we have to do what the consensus wants to do. But even just imagine that if, and I'm sure it happens, but imagine if just, it's on their schedule. And the South Side folks come up to the North Side to see if there are
Yeah.
things that are working there that they want to do. But how many of those older people, because like you said, Chicago's run like a dictatorship with a
Yeah.
bully pulpit. No matter who the mayor is, they have an inordinate amount of power. And we
100%.
have seen these alders turn against the mayor a little
Yes.
bit here, especially these last couple of years. And look, we had a pandemic. I'm not going to begrudge her that, she didn't
Yeah.
necessarily get everything done because she had a lot to do. But to me, it was always the attitude of
Yes.
anyone. It just doesn't work when, we know this with our kids. I
Yeah.
remember it with my uncles. when he'd give them the board, and it would terrify me because I never got spanked.
Yep.
But they would be like, "Do you want to be grounded or the board? Give me the board. That's 5 minutes, you know, and and I don't have to be grounded." But you don't
Right.
give the kid the board. You give the kid structure. You give
There
the
you
kid
go.
opportunity. That's what communities need. And I want to let you
Yeah.
respond. But one of the things I know when people say to me, there are so many people in such and such communities, and they are this way or that way. And I'm like, no, what you don't understand is when the unemployment rate is 90% for
Mm.
15 to
Yep.
30-year-old men,
Yep.
they do the jobs that are available.
There
And if
you go.
those jobs are run by gangs or have something to do with drugs, that's the job that's available. They
There
have to
you go.
feed their family. But if you gave them a damn job other than McDonald's,
Yep.
or McDonald's paid a living wage of $35 an hour, yes, a hamburger might be $7, but everybody could afford the damn thing.
Yep.
Well, they are $7 actually,
Yep.
but then
And they're,
people
they're
would
not
be
talking about
able
that.
to, yeah,
They're not
go
talking
ahead.
about that. Our young people, and especially the age groups you talk about, 15 to 30, like, um, it is so important that we start to invest back into these neighborhoods to build a pipeline to real jobs, middle class jobs. We cannot continue to allow people to come from broken homes, go into broken schools, come out into neighborhoods. There is no alternatives, right? And their trade has been taken out of the school. We should have tech hubs throughout the city. Like our kids are smarter than Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, and but they don't get the resources and the investment needed so that they can build an electric car, so that they can build a company. We got $100,000 tech jobs coming out of high school. Like I looked at the numbers of jobs that we've lost after the pandemic in all the industries, but yet I look at our schools and I look at our neighborhoods and I don't see trade or manufacturing and none of these things to even allow folks to transition into those fields from school. And so that's so important. We must make sure that folks have opportunity, and not just opportunity to make a few bucks, opportunity to be able to provide a life for their families, to be able to own a home, right? Build generational wealth. Like this is not rocket science. This is not rocket science when you look at these neighborhoods and you see that the unemployment rate is over 90%. You see that the median income is $15,000 for the neighborhood. You see that the home ownership rate is at 35%. You see thousands of vacant lots and vacant buildings with X's on them. You see the school not getting tax dollars is one of the worst schools in the city. Like this is not rocket science when you look at these neighborhoods, and then you go into Lincoln Park and then you see, wow, no vacancies, every business field, the home ownership rate 71 to 74%. The schools are immaculate and they got coding departments and all type of resources. They got millions of dollars of private funding of just rich people who make sure that the school has the ability to do something else, to expand their school and expand the amount of opportunities for their young people. You look at those opportunities, then you look at the fact that there's only one police car, one police officer per car in the whole all of Lincoln Park. And you say, wow, a police we call the police, and only one guy that looks like he eat donuts all day gets out of the car. He's like, all right, what's the problem? And I'm just saying this because this actually happened when I shut down when we shut down the Chase Bank in Lincoln Park. And we like, wow, like one guy in one police car barely even want to get out of the car. Why? Is because there's not a lot of violence in the neighborhood with that much investment.
Mm-hmm.
People are jogging, they're living their life. The dogs are nicer in Lincoln Park. The dogs are way
Well, they
nicer in
can
Lincoln Park
be,
than they
right?
are in Inglewood. In Inglewood, they're a little bit rougher, all right? They're a little bit more traumatized. They dodging bullets, a little bit more angry. You go in Lincoln Park, them dogs want to come up to you, lick you. They you can really see the difference in these neighborhoods, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, And it's not fair. It's not fair to the children. It's not fair to the next generation of young people. I got three boys. I had to spend a lot of money to come in Beverly so that they can have a decent school and a decent block and the amenities that most neighborhoods don't have. And it's just not fair. I wanted to make sure they had a better opportunity than I did, but I should be able to do that anywhere in the city of Chicago. And that's the problem. No matter your income, no matter your background, no matter anything, you should be able to have housing, a great school, be able to own a home, be able to, there's so many different things that you should be able to do no matter where you are in the city of Chicago. You should be able to go to a dog park. You should be able to go to a park, period. Most of these places don't have parks. You should be able to send your kids to your neighborhood school. You should be able to have clean water. You should be able to have fresh air. Like
You
you should be
should. You
able
would think.
to I mean, you would think like this is not rocket science. And
And
then
how do you,
it makes
Jamal?
no sense.
How do you take a steel manufacturing plant that's been on the north side forever? I'm assuming that land was worth about $1 bajillion, which is why they wanted to sell it. And then, as the mayor, even for a second, consider putting that place into, a neighborhood that's already been crapped on, has a
Yep.
higher rate of poverty, has a
Yep.
higher rate of pollutants. Like, there's no, I mean, look, I'm sorry. It's one industry. We're going to lose a little tax dollars. Those jobs
Yep.
can go to the suburbs in that case. Or
Right.
if they want to put it, somewhere on the north side, which would never happen,
Right.
wouldn't even be proposed.
Yep.
Um, and so, how do you do that? And to me, what I'm hearing from you, which is exciting, is, and what we need to see in our politicians is, one, you mentioned we got to be able to work with everybody.
100%.
We have to be able to, because it doesn't work if we don't. And
Yes.
until the system is changed and things are, we have some sense of actualization in this country, and
Yes.
there's some parity. Things might be different, and the problems might be different, but you've got to address this on a level of, we all need to do it. And what it sounds like to me is that you're very willing to talk to whoever
Whoever.
in the city of Chicago, and that you
100%.
want, everybody's vote in the city of Chicago. And I've
100%.
seen nothing here. And don't get me wrong, we're not doing any gotcha journalism or anything. I'm not going to worry about what you got on your third grade progress report, for goodness sakes. But the idea of politics being different, I do believe, because you're significantly younger than me, is there is some hope with with the folks that are younger than me. And I wanted to just quickly say to Rogelio there, um, I did not plan on having anybody come up and ask questions tonight, so I didn't have Jamal or any of the candidates up here. We threw this together at the last minute, so I know some people want to come up here and chat. And let me see what that other one is. But tell me this: what is the give me a little bit of your vision, that we did a little in the beginning, but your overall vision for the city. What would, the question of, where are you going to be 5 years from now? But you know what, you want to be mayor, so when you're running for reelection, what would you like to see the city like? And I'm not worried about promises,
Yeah.
I'm just talking about ideals.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what I want to see is I want to see people coming back to Chicago in droves, right? One of the things I always talk about is increasing the home ownership rate. And what I would do is two things I would do. I would move forward a single family mortgage bond that was used years ago, in which we would back home loans as well as pay for down payment and closing costs for folks who have moved out of the neighborhood, who have roots in these neighborhoods that may have went to Houston or Atlanta or the suburbs, to be able to say, we want you to own a home here. We need to bring folks back into these neighborhoods. We got to repopulate these neighborhoods so we can create a new tax base. Also, talk about the creation of a public bank, right? In which we can have a Bank of Chicago that invests back into our city, right? Where we have a non member board, three elected, three appointed by the mayor, and three by city council, that says, all right, we're going to put out this amount of money in home loans to these neighborhoods. We're going to invest in income based development so that we can kind of control the affordability of affordable housing. We're going to back small business loans. And then all of that profit that comes back from that bank, instead of investing in the private prisons and immigration detention centers and not reinvesting into the neighborhoods as most of these banks do, the Bank of Chicago's profit will go back into city services, whether it is another stream of funding for underfunded schools or whether it is paying down our pension crisis. We have the opportunity to use tax dollars to invest back into Chicago, and profit off of that goes back into the city. So that's another one of our big ideas. Increasing home ownership, increasing small business development. Every person that wants to open up a business in the city of Chicago, new small businesses should get their first license for free. And it should not take a long time to open up a business. We need to streamline inspections, licensing, and permitting and hold the city accountable. Folks shouldn't apply for a small business license and you got an inspection coming, and now it's 40 days and the city is still telling you we're coming, right? Like, no, after the 10th day, it needs to be an automatic approval if we didn't show up. Like, we got to hold the city accountable so we make sure these small businesses who want to create opportunities in these neighborhoods have the ability to do so. So,
I go ahead.
yeah, no, go ahead.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. And people are going to
Yeah,
be like, well, what are you doing? Getting on the J-Mall wagon? No, I'm getting on the human wagon. I'm getting on
yeah,
the make sense wagon. And I hope every candidate comes on here and makes some sense.
this
Let's,
makes sense.
let's have a make some sense campaign in this country because that's why I didn't ask for any promises. You gave us these ideas and these goals and these places
Yeah,
where you want to see it to go. It's going to be a tough road. We still have
yeah,
a lot of issues with outstanding payments due, to folks as they retire. We still have a lot of issues with police officers
yeah.
not really vibing with the fact that there are brown and black people in this, you know,
Hmm.
in this city. And that needs to change. Those
Yeah.
people need to retire. They need to be eased on down the
There you go.
road, move them
Let me
on out.
can I say real quick, because you talked about the pensions, and I just want to say this is so important. If we do not create a new tax base and build a more thriving economy in this city, we're going to be in trouble. The pension crisis is serious and it's only increasing. And the fact that the majority of our dollars each year is increasing and is going to what we owe in pensions, it's setting the next mayor. If I'm there, I only want to do 2 terms. They'll be in real trouble, or the next mayor after that will be in real trouble. And so, we got to start to build that tax base. That's why when I sat down with Governor Pritzker some months ago, I said, Governor, when I look at this budget, I'm not looking. I don't see investments in things that are really sustainable for these neighborhoods. They like to use this. Oh, we're putting it into violence prevention groups. So it's really a money grab. Just be honest with you, where
Oh
groups can
yeah, the
put
two
together.
hundred million dollars.
Yeah, they could just put groups together and say, all right, we're going to walk around the neighborhoods, and then they just take the money because they don't have any other middle class opportunity. So this is their opportunity to build an organization and hire, people that are not making money, and say that we're going into neighborhoods and walking around and preventing crime. That way, the politicians can say, well, we gave this money; it's the biggest investment ever. They get to make a few dollars for their pockets, but is it really doing something?
Well, and I want to speak to that too because I've definitely, know some folks that have been in those violence interrupters and the original
Same.
programs, and of
Yeah,
course, there's great people and they've done great
for
work.
sure.
And we definitely need to fund more of that. But I don't know, 20 million for that and 180 for jobs, just
Right.
jobs. I
There
don't
you
I don't
go.
give a damn if you just
Be real
build a bridge to
proud.
freaking nowhere.
Yeah,
Just give them jobs.
be real
Franklin
generous.
Delano Roosevelt, had the advantage of the war to drive the economy, but he also knew that people needed to work for inspiration and people needed to get things done. You go into some of these schools and they've got some of the most amazing murals because they just paid good artists to effing paint, for
Yeah.
God's sakes.
There you
And
go.
they dug ditches and they planted pine trees and they did whatever they could because we needed to employ these people so they could eat. So
There
with
you go.
$200 million, can you imagine if, oh, I don't know, they were paying that as the salaries for the people changing out the lead
There
pipes,
you
for
go.
goodness
There
sakes,
you go. There
you
you
know what
go.
I mean?
That's
Can
that's
you,
what it's about. We need
yeah,
sustainability,
because now they
jobs.
can just say, well, we gave them 200 million and the neighborhoods are still crappy.
Yep.
Well, yeah, you know why? Because you didn't ask the community what they want.
Unites the community. And so now what happens is you give, you have the jobs, you give good paying jobs, and then what you do, you come and say, hey, here's the ability to own a home. Here's some closing costs and down payment assistance. Okay, so now they say, oh wow, I can own a home. Yeah, I got this middle class job. I can own a home now. Now they own a home, and guess what? Now we at least got them locked in, right? Like we have to start locking people in as far as the next generation of young people.
Hmm.
We got to give them an opportunity to own so that they can say, all right, at least we know that they can be here for a certain period of time. 9 times out of 10, you're not just getting up and leaving your home in a few years, right? So we want people to build their lives here. And the only way to do that is to make sure that we got good paying jobs, to make sure that they can own a home, to make sure they can open up a business if they want to open up a business, to make sure their kids can get a proper education in their neighborhoods, make sure that it's safe to walk to a park. Like these are basic things. Transportation, shouldn't like how I feel about that.
We shouldn't
Transportation
have
should
to
be free.
talk about
But
this.
I mean, it's just it's so it, everything that we say every day, everybody's like, oh my God, like this is so popular. This, I'm the populist can. I'm saying, no, I'm literally just saying what makes the most sense. This is not about, who's right, who's wrong, left or right. This is just what makes sense. What do people need anywhere?
Hmm.
No matter where they're living, no matter what neighborhood, what are their basic needs? Let's start there first. Making sure that people got basic needs, right? Now, what does the neighborhood need? What do their kids need? Like we got to start from the basics. And once we can start to do that, we can start building the city that we can build. We can build that future that we can all believe in and all want to be in.
And people will want to live in
I
Chicago
want to
if
live in
they know
Chicago.
there's a middle class job and a home as a
Yes.
possibility. And
In
I have,
safety. Yeah.
yeah, and we've all said it for years. And when I lived in River North, and we had our son. I've got a 19-year-old in college too, but I've got a 9-year-old boy. Well, you probably saw him give me a hug there
That's
at the beginning, and we would have a neighbor or somebody that would be moving to the suburbs because of the schools.
yeah.
And I know now we're talking, these are wealthy, generally white people.
Yep.
And I'm like, you know, like stay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And first of all, the school in this neighborhood's pretty damn good.
Yes.
And because they were trying to a West Side school, and then we're trying to kind of merge, which would have been an interesting thing a few years ago. We did some work with that possibility,
Yeah.
but the you got to stay. You got to give people reasons to stay, and
More
and
reasons
and
to
we need
say
a
yes.
again. This is me talking. I'm not representing anybody else, but we need an all elected school board. We need people
Yes.
accountable. We
Yes.
don't need hand picked people that are going to do. She pressured somebody off the board recently. I don't want to hear my mayor pressured
hmm
anybody off of
hmm
anything. I want the people
Pressured off the
to make
board
these
because she wanted to
decisions.
shove through the South Loop School. So she,
Right.
Alderman steps down, go gets a private job, and then you appoint him to your school board and appoints his sister as the alderman to replace him. I mean, just same corruption. This isn't bringing in the light. This isn't the one who was, oh, Ed Burke is the worst person in the world. Mike, this isn't the person who was speaking in a way where she wanted to reform and change the old way of politics. This is the same old political BS, right? Alderman steps down, you appoint his sister, you appoint him to the school board, push somebody off the school board who wasn't okay with your voting for your South Loop school.
Well, and J Mall, I would say this: um, Chicago is a dictatorship. If I ended up voting for you, I will say, look, why don't you be a dictator for 2 years, but be a good dictator, get that stuff done. And I know you're not going to do that, but do you know what I'm saying? Like, if you've got
Yeah,
all that power, Madam Mayor, um, use it for good,
these are
right?
for
And
good.
then transfer that power back to the aldermen and the ward committeemen, but do it in a way that they can't abuse it either.
Yeah,
Because we don't need anybody. These people get paid pretty good money. They all are lawyers. They all have these other jobs. They
yeah,
don't need the money. So we need a system where the people are represented. And that is the
yes,
root of this country. And so when I hear a young guy like you that just wants to do good and is
yeah,
intelligent, bright, knows his issues. Every little thing I picked up on and talked about, you know it 10 times better than I do. I'm not a political guy. I'm starting this political show. I mean,
yeah,
I've been in politics, but I don't dig into it. I did get a Tribune and Sun Times membership since I was going to do this show. But I
yeah,
really think, J Mall, that you have what it takes to be mayor, and that's heart, and intelligence. And I mean that in the sense of you've educated yourself to the issues and you've got a plan and you know that you can't do it alone and you
yeah,
know that you would have the support of the communities. So,
yeah,
again, I would urge anybody, if you're going to be voting in this race, you need to take a look at this candidate and you need to take a look at the other candidates that are there. And I'm going to invite all of those candidates
yeah,
to come on this show if you want to talk for an hour and tell us what you're about, because we need to hear it. But what we need is a place where a city, even where, okay, look, if there's credible evidence that somebody, gathered a bunch of signatures illegally, like, if I'm from Waukegan and I sign that thing in Waukegan, I think the campaign folks are going to go, oh, we can't count that one,
right.
right?
Hmm.
So, if you see a pattern or whatever, then that's fine. But we need something where, because I believe the aldermen don't have to do that many, not anywhere
Right.
close.
No, no, no. This was the Daley's move, right? Daley had about 995 signatures back in 95 or so whenever he ran. And they moved it to 25,000 signatures. I mean, 995 to 25,000.
Right.
Then they got sued and they took it to court and the judge says, "All right, well, I'll just cut it in half." No numbers, no statistics, no data, no evidence for none of this. Just somebody who's just like, oh, I'll just cut it in half to 12,500. You know,
And I
uh,
can see
we all
I
know what
can
it
see
was.
why you would want a system of um that you have to do something, to run for mayor, show some level of commitment, but
Yeah,
getting a bunch of signatures, from people that you don't know. Now, you can turn that into opportunity, obviously, to, at least get your name out there a little
for
bit.
sure.
But it seems like there would be, a better way to do
It is a
that.
better
And
way.
honestly,
Hmm.
if 50 people want to run for mayor because they just need 1,000 signatures each, then so
Hmm.
be it.
Right.
They'll make the ballot a little longer, but you're sitting at the top of the ballot. And,
Top. That's that's
and I
that's the
know
that's the place I like.
I read in the paper that you were ecstatic about it, and you should be. It's good.
Yeah.
And again, Mayor Lightfoot is welcome to come on here. Now, if she reads my tweets, she probably knows I haven't been happy with her. And
Yeah.
if she sees this show, she might not. But I will be as I will be. Look, I will give her a fair shake. She's never going to come on this
She's not.
show, but yeah, but I think that the spirit of community, the spirit of togetherness, and the spirit of, I'm going to say it, well, I won't swear, but getting stuff done
Get stuff
is the
done,
spirit
man.
that we need. And man, you
Yeah.
got all of that. And it's just been such a privilege to have you on here.
Yeah.
And when you are mayor, hopefully I will be able to get you back on the show. Here I'm
For
winking
sure.
to talk about it, and hopefully this show will still be going. The fireside here is a great platform. Please thank your team for getting you everything you needed to get together here. And
Yes,
Amadeus,
it was
uh,
amazing.
a shout out to him, and a shout out to your team, and to your family and to your community that is supporting you. Tell us, future Mayor Green, what is the how? Where do people find you?
Yep.
How can they send you gobs of money? And let's let
Yes.
everybody know that kind of stuff.
You can go to our website to see our issues, donate, gogreenchicago.com, gogreenchicago.com. If you want to sign up for updates, you can text green to 61514. And if you want to follow us, you can look up J Mall Green on any social media platforms. It'd be easy to find us. But again, gogreenchicago.com to read more about our platform and to donate.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And again, what a pleasure it was to have you here. I'm just going to do a quick sign off. Stay here, right here with me. And if there's anything, and this is again to all the candidates that you need, I will definitely get you guys a copy of this. It is yours to use however you want. If you want to use it for anything, and happy to have you on again. Maybe as we get
I
closer to the
love so.
election, if you want, please just reach out, and I wish you the best of luck. Like I said, as I would wish everybody the best of luck, because if you love this city, and I've been here at least
Yes.
35 years, I don't want to do the math, makes me feel old. But if you love this city, you want what's best for this city. And to
There you
me,
go.
what's best for this city is love and getting along and making a difference. And I've never understood this about
Yep.
capitalism, J Mall. Why wouldn't you want everybody to be affluent? Because they're just going to buy more
Yes.
stuff.
There you go.
You know, I mean, that's
There
what they're
you
going to
go.
do.
There you go. So important. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for having me. I really, really appreciate you lending your platform to us and everyone that has watched today. Hopefully, we can gain your support. And I can't wait to come back.
excellent. And we will push this out here hard. I'll have a link up in a little bit after I trim off the front. You guys send this out on all your platforms if you want to, and happy to do whatever I can, like I said, to help all of our candidates here. And I'm definitely proud of the work that we do here at Fireside, and excited about this show. To Dr. Allie Neitzel, please feel better, and we will have you next week. And J Mall, just I've helped on a few campaigns. Get out there, kick some butt. I know you're going to be tired, but it'll I don't know, 9 years from now, after you've had your 2 terms, you can get some rest.
And get some rest. Nope, can't get no rest because we got to go to the White House. All right.
All right, man. Great to meet you, and
Great to
great,
meet you
great.
too.
Thanks again to your team, and we'll catch you later. My name is
Thank
Revolution
you.
MacInnes. This has been so far in the Chi Chai or Shy